Hello everyone, my name is Shambhavi and today we are going to discuss the rest of the topics which we have not covered in the previous video. So topics for today are generators, map, reduce and filter functions, and at last we will be discussing about method overloading and overriding. So these are the topics for today, and today what we'll be doing, we're just completing the whole basics of Python playlist, like all the topics which I have covered in my Hindi videos. Today all of that would be like covered in the English videos also, right? So this was the last video for this English. Fine. So let me quickly tell you that we are just going to discuss about the topics, and let me quickly revise the topics. So these are generators, map, reduce, filter functions, and then followed by method overloading and overwriting. So we'll be following the same procedure. Firstly, we'll be just going to the OneNote, just having the definition, seeing the definitions that basically what are these terms, and then we'll again come back to this PyCharm and have a look over the practicals for the things, right? So let's begin the things for now. Okay, so this is my OneNote, and let's start for the Python generators. Fine. Okay, so now here it is written that Python generators are a simple way of creating iterators. It is fairly simple to create a generator in Python. It is as easy as defining a normal function, but with a yield statement instead of a return statement. Okay. Now, what does it mean? Basically, whenever we just define a function, right? So whenever we just define a normal function, what we do in the let's say we want to return something, right? Let's say I just want to return a cross a, or I want to return the addition of two numbers, okay, addition of those two variables. So what we do, we just write def, we just make that function, right? We just write def, our function name, and then we simply what we do, we just simply pass the parameters into that. Fine. Coming inside my function, I just write return a plus b. So there I just use the statement that is written. But in generators, what we do, we just make a function, but instead of that return statement, we use the statement yield, Y-I-E-L-D. So that this is the statement basically which we use while writing the generators, while making the generators. So basically what are these generators used for? So as in the first line mentioned that Python generators are a simple way of creating iterators. Now what is this iterators? Iterators means if you just want to print something turn by turn, then that is called iteration. Okay, let's say you just want to print some numbers. Let's say you have a number limit and you want to print that numbers from this particular point to this point. Fine. So that is called iterators. So in that case what we use, basically use the for loop. We do the iteration. Okay, we use for loop, or let's say we just use while loop. Fine. So generators are a simple way for creating that iterators. It is fairly simple to create a generator in Python. It is as easy as defining a normal function but with a yield statement instead of a return statement. Fine. Now last word I have just written here, if a function, okay, if a function contains at least one yield statement, okay, at least, now I just mentioned here the term that is written at least. If a function contains at least one yield statement, it may contain other yield statement or return statement, that is like optional. So just read that if a function contains at least one yield statement, it becomes a generator function. Now here what is this written? But basically if you are just making any function, let's say just find a function, and in that function at least you make one you made one yield statement, so that would be called as a generator function. Now that would not be called as a normal function. Fine. That would be called as a generator function. Now both yield and return will return some value from a function. So the basically work for the yield and return is same, that basically they will return some value for a function. But we just usually make generators because these are the simple way for creating iterators. Fine. So I hope you just got the idea that basically what are the generators used for, and basically why we just use a generator function instead of that normal function. Fine. And we just use the yield statement instead of that return. So in generator function we use the real yield statement, and in the normal functions we use the return statement. Fine. So this is the idea. Now let's quickly move towards the PyCharm and have some practical for this thing, right? So here I am in PyCharm and already made the files. Okay, so by the time you can just make one Python file, right? Let's start the thing. So firstly what I'm going to do, I'm just going to write and make a function here, right? As we just mentioned that it is generator is a function, right? As I just mentioned, the generator function thing. So I'm just gonna make one function. So I would just write def, and here in the bracket I would just pass some parameters. Before passing some parameters, I would just give the name. So the name for my function is 1. Let's say 1. Okay. And in the bracket, I'm just going to pass a comma b. So these are the arguments, or the you can say parameters which I have just passed in my function. Now, as we mentioned in that side, that basically what we do, we write yield. Okay, instead of the return statement we write yield. So I would just write here as yield. Okay, one I is like written here, yield A. Okay, so I just want, if I just want to return A, in place of that return I would just write yield, and I would just again do the same thing, yield B. So now what it will basically do, what function it will do, basically it will return me the values for A and B. Okay, the function of that yield is also same, that it returns some values. Fine. Now next what I would just do, I would just take two values P comma Q. Fine, P comma Q, let's say two variables I have just taken, and here I just call my function, and here I just pass 2 comma 4. Fine, and here what I would just write, I would just write print P, and here I would just write as, okay, single I, and print Q. Fine, so this was the shortest program which we have just written right now. And yeah, just have a look here what I just got as the output. I just got the output as 2 and 4. Fine, so this is the idea. Basically this is how we make a generator function. Now here I haven't make a normal function, I have made a generator function as mentioned in definition, that whenever you use at least one yield, at least single yield in your program, then that program turns to be your generated function. So here what I have done, I have used at least one yield statement, right? So that is why my program has been turned into my generator function, and instead of that return I have written yield. So that is why this is one of my generator functions. Fine, so this idea, I hope this must be clear to that to you, that basically what is the generator function and how we can just make a simple program and write a program for the generator functions. Fine, now let's move forward. Now let's say here I just make a variable, let's say. Okay, I just wrote a variable final, and now here what I'm just gonna give, I'm just going to pass some values, pass 2 comma 4, let's say. Okay, so here what I have done, I have made another variable that is final is equal to, now what is this one? Was my name of the function. Let's go above and check out. Okay, so this is the name of my function, right? So I hope this is zoom in, right? So it should be visible to you. Fine. So 2 and 4 the same values which I have passed, and now here what I would just write, I would just write as print, and here I would just write as final and single I. Final. Fine. Now let's quickly run that once more. Fine. Okay, so basically what it is giving me, it is giving me generator object at generator object 1 at the something it is giving me. So just let's see that basically what is happening here. Let me just comment this thing for a while, and let's see now that basically are we just getting any answer from this final is equal to 1 2 comma 4 print final or not, or basically it is only showing me that this is a generator function. So basically now what it is giving me, it is giving me that generator object 1 at this position. So basically this is the positional index, you can just say. Now what it is giving me, why it is giving me the same thing, because here what we have done, here I have to pass two values A and B, right? And I have done yield A and yield B, but here I haven't taken two parameters. I have just commented that thing. I have simply taken a single variable and I just simply printed that. So that is why I'm just getting that output. Okay. Now let's comment this thing once more. Okay, not now. Now here let's say if I just want to check that what is the type for this print, and I would just write here as type, and here I would just write as final. I want to check that what is the basically type for this final. Okay, whatever we have written, what is its type. Now I will just run this one. See, basically what it is saying me, that it is of generator class. Previously it was telling me generator object, and now it is saying me that the class is generated. Fine, so I hope you just got the idea that here we have, and even I have proved also that we have made a generator function here in this example, because I have used this yield statement, and wherever I'm going to use this yield statement, so it is going to be our generator function only. Fine, so this is the idea. Now what else we can do here, what else like function we can just perform here. Now let's say I just want to convert this into list. Now I just want to do some typecasting or things like that. Okay, I would just write here list 1. Okay, list 1, let's say this is one of my variables which I have just made right now. And what I would do, I would just write here as list. I'm just typecasting. Now what does this typecasting means, and how many types of typecasting we can do, and all these things. For this I have already made one of my videos. You can just go and have a look over that video and just see that basically what does this typecasting means. And here I'm performing the explicit type conversion. Okay, you can just go and have a proper look over that video, so that you can just get a better idea of whatever I'm doing here, right? So list 1 is equal to list, and in the bracket I'm just going to write as final. So final is my variable which I just want to convert into list. Fine. Now what I'm just going to do here, I'm just going to print my list 1. Okay. Print my list 1. Fine. And even I just want to keep the type also. That what is the basically type for this list 1. So I will just write here as type. And so basically what is the data type for this list 1, right? I just want to keep that thing also. Okay, just hold on for a second. Let me, yeah, I cannot comment that thing. So I can just comment this thing right now. This one. Okay, let's not do that thing. Fine. Let's run that like this only. Fine. So from above, I was just getting these two outputs. Now, let's have a look that from this and this what I'm getting. So here what I am getting, I'm getting as the output and my like variables have been converted into list. The values which I was getting, they have been converted into list, right? 2, 4. And here what it is now showing me, it is showing me that like class which you are having, that is of the list data type. Fine, so here what I have just done, I have just done the typecasting and just printed that thing. Fine, so I hope you just got the whole idea that basically how does this yield function works. Okay, so this was a short example for this yield function. Now, this is not enough for now. We are just going to see some more functions on this generator function. Okay, move towards the next example. Here I will just make the same function, div1. Okay, now here what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass the same values which are a comma b. Fine, I would just like go here, I would just write yield, okay, yield, okay, d, yield a, and here even I would just write as, okay, let me just do enter. Fine, and here I would just write as yield b. Fine, so a and b. Now what else I'm going to do here, I'm just again going to make that final is equal to 1, and here I will just pass as 2, 4. Fine. Now here what I am going to do here is that I'm just going to print that final, let's say. Now this was the same thing which we have done right now, right? We have just seen all these things, so I'm not going to run that. Now if I just want to check the type, that will be also generated. Now I'm not going to write that thing also here. Fine. Now what next, like new thing I have here? Here we have one function that is next. Print next, and in bracket I'm just going to write the final. Now let's run this for a while. Let's run this. See, as soon as I wrote next, what I just got here, I just got here as 2. Now see one more thing here. I'm just going to write this thing once more. I would just write here print. Again I would just write next, and again I would write as here final. Okay, final. And now when I would just run this thing once more. See, now what I just got 2 and 4. So basically what is this next function used for? If you just want to get your values turn by turn, let's say you have entered here 2 values, that is 2 and 4, right? So if you just want to get your values one by one in the sense that firstly you want only your first value should be displayed, right? And then secondly you want your second value should be displayed. Then let's say you have here many values, then you want your third value to be displayed. So this is the procedure, this is the use of the next function, that basically if you're having a particular value and you want to just display that value once, and then you want to display the second value, then you want to display the third value, you don't want to display the whole all the values in one go. So in that case we basically use the next function. Fine, I hope you got the idea. As soon as you run the program, you just you must have got the idea basically what does this next function do. Fine, so this was one more example. Now moving towards the last example for this yield function. Now for this generator function. Now let's see the last example for this generator function. Fine. Now again I'm just going to make one function. Now I will just change the name of the function, that is 2. Okay, I will just write here a comma b. Now here inside this I will just apply some condition. Fine. While a is less than equal to b. Here I have just applied one condition, that while a is less than equal to b. Now here what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to write here as yield. Now you write we know why I have written yield, because I just want to make it my generator function. Fine, yield a. And here what I would do, I would just do the iteration, that is a is equal to a plus 1. Fine. Now what I would do, I would just come out of my function and I would just make a variable here, let's say final. I would just write here as 2. I would pass the values. Okay. Now I would just print print, and here I would just write as final. So you would know that what will be the output. So let me just quickly run that thing. Fine. So here we just got that generator object to our this position. Now We will follow the same procedure. If I just want to display these things one by one, so what I am going to use, firstly I would just write here as print. I would write here as next, and in the bracket I would write my term, that is final, and let's run that for now. Fine. So here you can see that my first value has been generated. Now just see the values which I have given, 2 comma 5. So even I have given 2 comma 5, even I have just given a condition that prints me the value still at that point, till the point a is less than equal to b. Now if I'm just going to write this print once more, I would just write here as print next and then final. Now what I am going to get, now don't be in that mistake that you're going to get 5 as the output. No. Why? Because here we have applied the condition, that is while loop. Here I have given the condition a less than equal to b. It got inside this while loop, yield a, fine. It printed me a. And then a is equal to a plus 1. So here what is happening? Here the value of a has been incremented also. Is been incrementing. Incrementing means, so here it was the value of a was 2. Now the value for a has become 3, and now when I'm just going to run my program, now see here what I just got. I just got 2, 3. So this procedure will carry on till 4, fine. So sorry, till 5, because here we have the condition that while a is less than equal to b. So I would just copy this single line and I will just paste it for 2 more times. Okay. Now I would just run this, fine. Okay, so see here what I got. I got 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? So this was the proper output which I just got. And now let's see if I just print this next once more. My condition is false this side, right? For this line number 32, my condition would be so false, because we have given the value for a as 2 and the value for b as b, and we were b as 5. And we were having the condition that a is less than equal to b. Yeah, that is going to be false. But what are we going to get here? Let's see that thing. Now, here see that firstly I just got the output. 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is a desired output. Now what it is saying? It is saying stop iteration. Stop iteration means my iteration has been stopped here. So this line, last line which you have written, that is not valid, because only the condition which you have given is while a less than equal to b, and the values were 2 and 5. So I would be printing the values only till 5. If you have written next, then I would just give you the error that stop iteration. Now you need not to do the iteration because your condition is now being false, fine. And after your while condition, nothing would be printed, fine. So this was the idea about using the generators, right? So I hope you just got the idea that basically what are generators and basically how we just use the generators, fine. So let's do one thing, just quickly go to that OneNote once more and read out the definitions, whatever we have written, right? So the first thing was Python generators are simple way of creating iterators, right? So you have seen that thing here, right? We have just done 3 examples. In that we have just seen the things. Second, it is fairly simple to create a generator in Python. It is as easy as defining a normal function but with a yield statement instead of a return statement. So basically what it is saying, it is purely simple to create a generator in Python. Yeah, that's easy, right? As we just normally declared one of the function, and inside that function simply instead of the yield we just use the return. Okay, so that was as simple as like it is written here. But only the case was that instead of that return statement we need to use the yield. Now, third thing, if a function contains at least one yield statement, it becomes a generator function, fine. Both yield and return will return some value from a function. This was about the generators. Now let's move towards the PyCharm IDE for once more, and here let's move towards the second topic for today, and that are map, reduce and filter functions. Now we are going to see that basically what okay, before map, reduce and filter, let's see this method overloading and method overriding, fine. Let's solve these things and then we'll move towards the map, reduce and filter function. So let me just take it upwards and let me just close this thing for a while, fine. So here I have already written some definitions for the overloading and overriding itself. Let's quickly read that. What are these? So overloading is the ability of a function or an operator to behave in different ways based on the parameters that are passed to the function or the operands that the operators act on. And what is this overriding? So the method of the child class overrides the method of the parent class when called by an object of the child class. This is called method overriding. Now, the definitions looks a little bit of typical, a little bit of lengthy and things like that, right? Now, I would be explaining you each and every line, but before that, let's quickly see one example for the method overloading, fine? Now, what it says basically, method overloading is the ability of a function or an operator to behave in different ways, okay? Now, what is this like overloading? It is the ability of a particular function. Let's say we have a particular function. Now, it is the ability of that function or you can say just an operator also to behave in different ways based on the parameters that are passed to the function or the operands that the operators acts on. Fine. Let's see an example for this. Okay. Let's go and see one example and then you will just clear more. Fine. So as this is the topic of for my classes, so even I will just make one class and I will just name my class as A. Now here what we are just going to, let's say I just made a function here, okay. Let's say I made a function def add. Okay, self is automatically passed because I have made my class here, fine. Now here let's say I just pass some values, my value A is equal to none. Let's see here I just pass the value for A. I would do the same thing for B itself. And even we have one last variable that is C also, fine. So A, B and C is equal to none. Fine, this is done. Now, let's say here I want to give some conditions inside my this function, okay. Let's say if let's say I'm just writing a program. Let's say if not A not equal to none, okay. A not equal to none and B not equal to none and C not equal to none. C not equal to none. Fine. Let's say I just give a condition here, very simple condition. Let's say A not equal to none and B not equal to none and C not equal to none. That means A, B and C. Both of like all the three are having some values stored in them, right? Then do what here? Then take a variable that is B and add all the three values. Okay. Fine. So here now what I have just written, I have written, let's say I just made a function, right? The function was like add, okay? Inside that I have passed some A, B and C, three parameters and I have done their values as none. None means that right now they are not having any of the values stored in them. Fine? Because we will be giving the values at the time of the function calling. Fine? This is only the function declaration. So after inside that function what I have done, I have just given one condition. Okay, and my condition is if the value for A is not equal to none, that is the variable which I have just taken here, that is A, it is storing some value. Let's say we have just given some value to that A and we have given and B is not equal to none, that is we have given some value to B also, and C is not equal to none, that is we have given some value to C also. Then take a variable that is B and add all of these three, that is A, B and C. Add all of three, fine. This is the first condition which I have just written. Here I would just put one elif, fine. After using that elif, I would just apply one more condition. If A not equal to none and B, a small b, B not equal to none. And whatever I have just made in some mistake this side. Fine. If A not equal to none and B not equal to none, then what do? Then take the same variable and now what to do? Add only A and B. Fine. Add only A and B. Previously what we were giving, if all the three values are given into this function, then add all of these three values. Now, next thing that if only two values are given, then add only those two values. Fine. And my third and last condition. Okay, this is like we cannot add only one number, right? If we must have two or three numbers for adding. We cannot add a simple number. So if my these of two conditions do not satisfy, then print me a statement that give at least two numbers. Okay, just let me go here. Yeah, give at least two numbers for addition. Okay, for addition. So now here what I'm just saying that give me at least two numbers for each. I cannot add one number for it, right? Like I cannot add one number, right? So give me at least two numbers for addition. And I don't know, basically just hold on. Fine. And go above. Fine. So I have just made my class, and now after coming out of my class here, what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to call my, firstly I'm just going to make the object of my class. So let's say I made that obj. Fine. My class name was A. Print, and here firstly I would just write my object, that is obj. Now I put a dot, I would just write my function name. Let's say firstly I would just give two value. Let's say I just give the value 3, 4, okay, and I would just run my program. Now I would just get, see, okay, here what I'm just getting none. Why I am getting this thing none? Let's see. Okay. Fine, so let's do one thing. Let's remove these none, none, and none, all of these three from here, and I will just remove this thing for right. Now let's quickly run that once more. Okay, add missing one required positional argument. See, have I done something like wrong here? I don't know, like self comma a comma b comma c. Fine, if a not equal to none and b not equal to none and c not equal to none. Okay, then P is equal to A plus B plus C. Fine. If A not equal to none and B not equal to none. So P is equal to A plus B. Fine. That's also fine. Else print me this thing. Then what mistake have I made here? OBJ is equal to A, and yeah, print OBJ dot add in brackets 3, 4. Let's say I just wrote here one value right now. Okay, I just gave one value. Yeah. Okay, just 1 second. Just like quickly pass. Let me pass none here. Like once more. Okay, none. Here also none, and here also none. Fine. Okay. obj dot r2, and now let's quickly run that thing once more. Okay, so basically firstly it is giving me give at least two numbers for addition. Okay, now that's now like this function is running absolutely fine. So basically it is saying me that give at least two numbers for addition. Fine. Now what else we should do? Let me just change some values. Let me here give two values. Let's say I just give three values, 3, 4, 5. And now let's say I just want to run this. Okay, it's showing me none. I don't know why. Basically it is doing that thing, and even let's check that. Let me just print here P. Okay, print P. And here also let me just print and P. Fine, and I'll just run this for once more. Okay, so basically now what it is giving me, it is giving me the answer, that is 12. Fine. See now what is the addition for 5, 4 and 3? So addition for all these three is 9 plus 3, that is 12. So it is giving me even the 12 as the value. Now why it is giving me none? Let's see that quickly also. So I don't know, like okay. Let's try some more things, and then we'll just see that basically what it is doing. So at last we'll just see this thing. Okay, let's take this thing till the last, right? So here I have just given three values and it showed me the addition. Now let's say I just remove one more value, and I will just now again run that. Now see, what it is giving me. It is giving me the value as 7. That is also fine. Let's say I just gave one only argument here. Now if I just run that once more, so it will give at least two numbers for addition, right? So my program is running like absolutely fine. Now why did I just show you this program right here, and why did I just wrote that thing? Because I want to prove the method overloading. Right now you have written a simple program for the method overloading. This is basically how the method overloading works, right? This is how, as I told, this is how basically the method overloading works. Fine, and let me just go above and show you the definition for once more. So overloading is the ability of a function or an operator to behave in different ways, right? What was my function doing? My function was having different conditions, and it was behaving in different ways, right? Based on the parameters that are passed to the function. So when I just passed two parameters, it added to those two parameters. When I passed three parameters, it added those three parameters. When I did not pass any parameter, then what it did, it simply did not added any, and it resulted me the output that give at least two numbers for addition, right? So this is basically what is called as method overloading. Ability of a function or an operator to behave in different ways based on the parameters that are passed to the function or the operands that the operator acts on. Fine. So this is what's called as method overloading. Fine. Right now we have just seen an example for method overloading. So now just let me quickly comment the things right here, and we will just see that one more example for the method overriding. Fine. So let's see the definition for this method overriding once. So basically now what does this method overriding say? The method of the child class overrides the method of the parent class when called by an object of the child class. This is called method overloading. Now what just like meant here, what do I just said? So the method of the child class. We have child class and parent class, right, in the classes. Now, if you just want to know that basically what are classes and what is the child class, what is the parent class, so you can just go and look at my previous videos in which I have explained about the classes and objects, fine. So you can just go and have a look. There you will just get all the insights about the child class, parent class, classes, objects and all that things, fine. Now, let's take the things here right now. The method of the child class overrides the method of the parent class. So the child class, the like method which we have introduced, which we have written in the child class, that is being override by the method of the parent class when called by an object. Fine. Whenever it is called a function, okay, a class using our object. So whatever the method we have written in child class, that overrides the method whatever you have written in the parent class, and this procedure is only called as method overriding. Let's see an example and then you will just get a clearer idea about this thing, right? Let's say here I just made a function, okay, and the name for my function is sub. So basically what my function would do, firstly I'm just making a class, fine. Now inside this I would just make a function, I would just write here as out. Now what my subclass will do, my subclass will do the subtraction for two numbers, fine, you do subtract two numbers. Here I would just write as print, and here I would just write as subtract, okay, TRAC, subtraction is fine, and this colon here comma, and here I would just write as A minus B. Okay, subtraction is A minus B. Fine. Sorry, yeah, we have taken A minus B, that's right. Now what else I would do, I would just make one more class, and now this class would be div. So basically this class would what do? This class will do the division. Now I would keep the name of the method same, right, as I just mentioned above, the methods, right? So method is my function only, right? I would again pass the same parameters a comma b, and here I would just apply that print statement print, and here I would just write subtraction is okay, tion, that was okay. And I would just, not the subtraction, I just need to write here as division, fine, division. I don't know like why this I is coming double times right here, fine. So division is, I would just put this colon, and here I would put a comma A by B, right? So this is a division for both of these numbers. So here what I have just done right now, I've just made two classes, sub and division, fine. Inside my subclass, I have taken a function that is out, and basically what it is doing, it is subtracting the two numbers. And in my division class also, I have taken the same function that is out, and even it is also doing the division of two numbers, fine. Now I would just come out and make the function like object for my child class, as we mentioned above, that object for the child class. So the object for my child class, what is my child class? My child class is div, and my parent class is sub. Okay. Now I have just made the object. Now here I would just write d dot out, and in the bracket I would just write, let's say 15, 5 are the values which I have just given. If I would just run my program now, just see here that what I just got here, I just got the division is 3.0. Fine, I just got the division, and that division is 3.0, and this is the same thing, like this is the correct thing which my div class was doing. My div class was having a function in it, and that function was basically performing the division for two numbers, right? And this is the like correct output which I got. Now, what was the definition? Now just pay attention to what the definition. The method of a child class overrides the method of the parent class when called by an object of the child class. Here what is happening? The method for my sub parent class was out. The method for my child class was also out. So whenever I have called my class using my this object of, like, whenever I have called my function using the object of my child class, so basically what it is doing is it is overriding the method of my parent class. That is, it is overriding this out function, and instead of this it is overriding that, right? My child class, my div class is overriding the method of this subclass, and basically in the output, that is why I was getting the output in the division, because my parent class, that is my subclass, that has been overridden. Fine. So this is the whole idea about the method overloading and overriding, that basically these two concepts are a little bit similar to each other. Let's quickly have one more time the definition for both of these. So the overloading is the ability of a function or an operator to behave in different ways based on the parameters that are passed to the function or the operands the operators act on. Fine. So this thing I have just now proved with a very simple example. Moving towards the method overriding. So the method for the child class overrides the method of the parent class when called by an object of the child class. This is called as method overriding, right? So I hope you just got the whole idea about the method overloading and overriding. Now let's move towards the map, reduce and filter functions for today. Fine. Now, what are basically these three functions and what are these three used for? Let's go to OneNote and have a look over the definition and use for these functions. Fine. So here it is written, map, filter and reduce are paradigms of functional programming. Fine, that is okay. They allow the programmer, that is you, to write simpler, shorter code without necessarily needing to bother about loops and branching. Now this is the main function, this is the main use, that basically why we just use the map, filter and reduce function. So basically what they do, they allow the programmer, that is you, to write simpler, shorter codes, fine, without needing to bother about loops and branching. Essentially, these three functions allow you to apply a function across a number of iterables in one fell swoop. Okay, map and filter come built in with Python and require no importing. Reduce, however, needs to be imported as it resides in the functools module. Right, so basically from here, what we can just conclude from this, okay, just let me close this thing and let me find, so I just like, okay. So basically what we can just conclude from here, that map, filter and reduce, these three are the functions which are basically used to write the simpler and the shorter codes. Fine, let's quickly see some examples for all of these three. So let me go to the PyCharm and yeah. So firstly we will be just seeing about the maps. I would just put some hash, even I would just put some dash dash and I would just write here as map. Okay, and even I will just again put some hash. Fine. Let's write some program for the map. Now let's say here I have a number that is num. Okay, let's say I have a variable num and let me just take it to backside, otherwise it will show me indentation errors. Fine. So num is equal to, now here let's say I just declare a list. Okay. Now what is list, how we declare that, I would just repeat the same thing that I have already covered the topics in my previous video, so you can just go and have a look over there. Fine, 2, 3, 4. Fine, so this here I just made a simple list. Fine, so this is a list which I have just made that right now. What next I have here? Next I would be just taking, let's say I just take variable sq. Fine. Now here I just wrote list, list. Fine. Here I would be using my map function. Fine, map. Inside this map, I would be using my lambda function. So basically, we use the lambda functions with the map, reduce and filter. So both with all these three functions, we can use the lambda functions. So the sq is one of my variables. I just put equal to sign list, and list was my type, data type. I put the map is the function, and inside that I use the lambda. Lambda x is I would put the colon. So here, what I would be doing, I would just multiplying x and x. That means I'm just going to square both of these values, right? So x comma x, and here I would just put a comma, and here I would just write as num. So this means what it is going to do, it is going to give me the square. Fine, and I will just write here as sq. Now first let's quickly run it and see the output for it. Fine. Now see that here what did I get? I just got the values and the squares for all of the values which I have written in my list. So if I'm just going to do this thing using my for loop, using my condition, so it will take 5 to 6 lines of code, right? It will take my code to just double or just triple lines, fine. So whatever code we have written, it will just take it to double or triple. But using my map function, what I have just done, I have just used written this code in a very single line, with two lines for the declaration, only one line for the whole concept, right? So this is basically, it was written previously that map, reduce and filter. All these three functions are basically used to write your code shorter and make your code simpler, and yeah, all that things, fine. So this was the use of my map function. Now let's say I just x multiplied by this was the square. Let's take some more examples here. Fine, I would just comment this thing for a while and I will even close my output window. Fine. Here let's do one thing. Let's make some functions, okay? I would just make a function def, and the name for my function would be square, and in bracket I would pass in the parameter as a. Fine, and here I would just return. Now here I'm using return because I want to make a normal function, not a generated function. Fine, that is why I'm just using the return. If I need to make a generated function here also, then I would be passing that yield instead of this return. Fine. Now that way square is done, and the third one, which I'm basically I'm just going to make cube, is like here also I would pass a, and I would just return a multiplier. Okay, just one second. Where is my multiplication? Okay, a multiplication, a. Fine. I have just made two functions right now and just returned the values in that. That's okay. Now here what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to make a function is equal to, and here I will just write as square, comma, and cube. I will just write the name of both of the functions which I have just made right now. Fine. Now what I would just write, I would just write for I in range. Okay, for I in range. Now here what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to pass the value as 4 here. Fine. I would just go inside. Now here I would just use as value is equal to list. Fine. Here in the bracket I would just use as map. Map is my function which I'm just using, and I would just use as lambda here. Lambda. Fine. I would just lambda x colon x of I. Fine. One single I. Just one second. Fine. And now what I would be doing, and here I would be putting one command. I would just writing here as function. Function was the variable in which we have stored both of the functions, that was square and cube. Fine. I would come out of my function right here and I would just print here value. Fine. And I would just run my program for now. See what I just got here. I just got the values as 9,27. Fine. So this is the whole idea about using this a cube and return functions this side. Fine. Now if I just take this print inside this class, okay, inside this, and now if I just run my program, okay, then let me do it. Fine. Now what it is giving me, it is giving me the square, and it is even giving me the cube of all the four values which we have taken. So I have taken the range as 4. Okay, so it will go from 1 till 3. So 0 till 3. So 0 square for 0 is 0, and cube for 0 is also 0. Same condition with 1. The square for 2 is 4 and the cube for 2 is 8. The square for 3 is 9 and the cube for 3 is 27. And series still will go on. Whatever the value you are going to mention here, the series will go on till that thing. Fine. This is the whole idea about using the map function. How you can just reduce your code, how you can just make your code simpler by using the map function. That thing I have just showed you right now. Fine. So this is about the use of map function. Now let's comment this thing quickly and let's do the things for reduce and filter itself. Fine. So I would just go down, and here I would just write here as, I would put that comment itself, right, as we have done previously. So this, and here I would just write as, okay, I would just use as my filter function, because in that reduce you will be just using to import something, right? I would just use here as filter, because in the reduce we will be using some extra modules to be importing module, right? So first finish up with filter. Now here let's say I just quickly make a list one. Okay, one of my list I have just made, and I just put some values 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, here I would just make a function def greater. Fine. Def greater, and in bracket I'm just gonna pass as number. I will just put the colon and then down, and here I would just write as return number greater than 1. Okay, return number greater than 1. And here I would just write as greater is equal to list. Now here what I'm just going to use, I'm just going to use my filter function. Okay, filter. And here I'm bracket, I'm just going to pass the greater is one of my functions. And here what I have the list one. So list one is the variable in which I have stored my values. And here I would just print as greater. So print greater. Now let's quickly run the program. Fine. Okay, so what I just got here, I just got the values as 2, 3, 4 and 5. So one is basically the condition which I have just given here, that print me all of the numbers which are greater than 1. So it printed me 2, 3, 4 and 5 because all of these three are, all these 4 are greater than 1. Let's I just change the condition and just make it to 3, okay. Now in the output I would be getting only and only 4 and 5 because only 4 and 5 are greater than 3. Rest 1, 2 and 3 are less than, 1 and 2 are less than 3. So that's the idea about using that filter function. Basically, this is how you can just use your filter function for making any program easy and simpler. Fine. Moving towards the last topic for today, and here I will just put some comments, and here I will just write as reduce. So as mentioned in the definition, and as I have also told that using the reduce function, what we'll be needing we'll be needing to import a particular module, right? So that import I would just write here as from functools. So functools is the module from which you'll be importing, right? From functools import reduce. Reduce is the function which we have imported right now. Okay. I would just make one list. Let's say the name for my list is list2. Fine, I would just put a equal to sign. Inside this, I will just pass some values. 5, let's say 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 9. Done. Now what I'm just going to do here, let's say I just wrote here num is equal to. Now let's say what I just want to do, I would just want to add I add numbers. I just want to get the final sum of all of these numbers. Fine. So if I just want to do this thing using my for loop, then how would I have done that thing? I'm just going to tell you this thing right now. Okay. Now I would just write here for I in list 2. Okay. I in list 2. Let's say I just want to get the sum of all of these numbers. So for like that thing, what I have done using my for loop, how I have done. So I've written for I in list 2. Okay. What else I have done? I have written here num is equal to num plus I. Okay, num is equal to num plus I. And here inside, after this, I have printed my num. Fine, print num. So this is how basically I have done my program if I just want to get the sum of all of these numbers using my for loop. So sum which I just got here is 35. That is fine. Okay. Now, how my things can become very simple using my reduce function. I will just show you that thing. So using that for loop, we have just written this thing like this, right? Now I would just do same thing. I would just write here num is equal to, here I would just use my function that is reduce. Fine. Reduce here I would just use as okay, lambda. Fine, lambda x comma y. Okay, lambda x comma y. I would put the colon. Now here what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to do x plus y. Okay, and here I'm just going to pass as list 2. Fine, and I would just print my num. Print num. Now let's quickly run that thing. Now see here what I'm just getting. I'm getting the same output which I have got using my for loop. Basically this is how you can use your reduce function, your map function, your filter function to make your codes written simpler, easier, easy to understand and all that things. Fine. So here I have just written that code in 4 lines and here I have just written that in single 1 line. Fine. So this is the use of reduce, map and filter functions, right? So I hope today you just got all the all idea about the topics which we have discussed. First one was the generators. We have discussed about that what are generators, what is the use of making generators. Then we have seen method overloading and method overriding, that what are these used for. Thirdly, what we have seen the map, reduce and filter functions, all of these 3 functions, fine. So this is a whole Python topics which I have covered right now. Okay, so this was the all of the topics which we can take in Python basically, fine. Now this is whole course for that Python is completed right now. Okay. So just 1 second, I just want to, yeah. So basically, one thing just right here, one thing right now, what we have discussed basically in my last video, what I have discussed, I have told you about decorators, right? So in that we have just taken very first example. So I was just telling you how to delete and how to copy that number. So in that basically we were just getting one error, right? So let's quickly see that what was that error and how to just solve that thing. Then we'll just end this video, fine. Here what I have done, I have just made that fun1 function, right? So here what I have done, I have just forgot to put these brackets this side. Fine, fun2 is equal to fun1, and yeah, I just remove this thing for a while, and I would just like run this once. Fine, I would just run it for once. Okay, so now what it has been, it has printed me, it has now printed me fun with data science, fun with data science. So basically what was happening, and yeah, just let me just comment this down one. Okay, I just 1 second. Okay, fine, now let's run that once more. Okay, now see basically what is happening now. Again here it is printing me fun with data science second time. Even I have deleted my fun2 because I have made the copy of this one. Okay, so that is why it is printing me the same thing right now. Okay, so I hope it has got the whole idea about the generators, about the method overloading and overriding, about the decorators which we have, sorry, about the map, reduce and filter functions which we have discussed later. So here we complete the whole basics for Python course, and now for now we are just like going on with the pandas library on the channel. So just go and watch starting pandas and statistics and even some data analytics also and all that things, right? Would be coming very soon with the Python for advanced level, right? So this is all for this video. Till then, thank you and bye bye.